What is up guys, Andy Forest Steam Runner here, and today I'm giving you guys my first impressions of the Hoka One One Torrent 2. So that's 10.5 miles done and dusted in the Hoka One One Torrent 2. The first trail shoe I've reviewed on this channel since the Nike Pegasus 36 trail shoe back over a year ago, I think it was, and what a shoe to come back to. This thing is absolutely fantastic. Today I cannot wait to share my first impressions with you guys on this shoe, but as always we'll be going through the technical spec first and then I'll give you my first impressions at the end. If you're new to the channel though, make sure you stick around because we'll be doing further testing in this shoe, including a long run test, and I will also try and get a terrain test done on this thing. Normally with road shoes we do a speed test. With trail shoes I like to try and do a terrain test. Get this tested on all different types of surfaces, or all the surfaces that I have available to me in and around the Forest of Dean. So if you're excited for today's video guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and we'll start with the technical. So I'll start off by saying I went true to size in this shoe. In brands like Hoka One One and New Balance, when they get up to size UK 12, it actually goes 12.5, 13.5, 14.5, so on and so forth. So I ended up going for 13.5 because in brands like Asics and Nike, etc., they just do standard 11, 12, 13, 14, so on and so forth. So 13.5 fits me absolutely perfectly, as with every other Hoka I have tried. UK size 13 comes in at 335 grams or 11.9 ounces. This thing has a 23 mil stack height in the heel, 18 mil stack height in the forefoot, meaning we have a 5 mil heel to toe drop. So as always guys, we'll work our way from the heel counter area. We'll cover the ankle collar and the tongue. We'll move on to the laces, the upper, we'll talk about the Profile midsole, and then we will talk all about the outsole. So as always, we'll start in and around here. We have what I would call, I wouldn't say it's medium plush, I'd say it's bordering medium to thick. It reminds me of some of the older Asics shoes that I run in, just really super padded, but actually it's just not too much. And what I have to remember is that these are trail shoes, and I'm obviously used to reviewing a lot of road shoes, but with trail shoes you want a bit more comfort than you do with road. Chances are you're going to be in these shoes a little bit longer. You're not going to be out there on the roads doing reps in these things. You're going to be out on the trails enjoying them, and you want comfort, you just want it to be comfortable. So it's a perfect amount of plushness there in and around that ankle collar area. The same goes with the tongue, relatively thick tongue, not too thick, but perfect in my opinion. And what stands out for me is this ankle cut groove here. It's not too high that it rubs on the bottom of your ankle bone. It's not too low where you feel unstable. The whole fit of this area, just for my foot shape, worked absolutely beautifully. Lacing system is just nothing fancy. It is perfect. Just eyelet chains moving down here, as you can see. And we have the extra space here for the runner's knot. Laces are thicker than what you would expect in some of the road racing, but that's fine. They need to be a little bit tougher. due to the nature of the type of shoe we're talking about, and of course they're long enough to use this runner's knot if you need to. I didn't need to. It locked down absolutely perfectly first time, which moves me on to the next point. Lockdown, how did it feel? I have a relatively wide foot. Some Hoka shoes are renowned for being quite narrow. This thing was perfect for me, although it's funny because it looks like it's not the biggest and widest toe box. When you look at it from the outsole spreads out quite wide, and it does look quite a wide shoe from the bottom, but on the top it doesn't actually look that wide. But my feet were very, very comfortable in there. No rubbing, no nothing. This is an engineered mesh upper. It's nice and breathable. We have this, what I would call, it's like a plastic film overlay in and around here, in and around the toe area, running all the way up here. I'm guessing that's going to be to protect you from the water if you go through some minor puddles. It ain't going to do anything if you go through big ravines and cross fords and stuff like that. But on the whole, if you're running some wet and muddy trails, it's going to do a good job of keeping some of that water out. But of course, it's still quite breathable. We've got some cut holes in there and the top there, which just, it just kept my foot at a perfect temperature. And we were wearing some relatively thick trail socks today from Unived, which were absolutely fantastic. Shout out to Unived, gifted some trail running socks, some road running socks, and some compression socks. So thank you guys for those. And that combination today just worked really, really well. So in terms of the upper and everything in and around here, absolutely spot on. We move on to the midsole. This is the interesting one for me. ProFly midsole, dual density, softer in the heel, firmer in the forefoot for that comfort, especially for people like me, when you get a bit lazy, a bit sloppy, and you lean back going downhill. I'm not a pro runner, I'm not an elite. It does happen to me. I am normally a mid-foot to forefoot striker. On the majority of my shoes, I see the wear and tear in and around here on my road shoes, but I do notice if I do a lot of hills, I can very often sit back, and that is where this comes in nicely. I'm not recommending that, boys and girls, but I'm just saying that's my form, that's my style, that's how I roll. It worked really well. It was a perfect combination between responsiveness, cushioned, but still quite firm, and you can feel the firmness in the toe box. Under the toes there. It's quite a nice pop off. It really does lend itself to racing. Like I bought this with the intention of racing the mountain marathon that I have in 10 weeks. I am convinced after the first run that this is 100% the shoe I'm going to be racing that mountain marathon in. So a really nice midsole there, perfect stack height to keep it racing, not too max cushiony, 23 in the heel, 18 in the forefoot, just that perfect level balance. 5mm drop, perfect for me as well. So I really enjoyed the midsole. And then onto the outsole. This has sticky rubber on it with multi-directional lugs. Again, gave me good grip. I didn't do my research, so I do apologise. I'm just going to estimate and look at these lugs and say they look in and around 3 to 5mm in certain areas. So some around here on the outsole, on the outside, they look deeper than some of the ones up here. I'd say these are more around the 3mm, these are more like around the 4 or 5, but either way, they're multi-directional. I had good grip, and what was really, really nice is that I did a nice hilly route, 1,300 foot worth of climbing this morning over the 10 miles. I did some good ups and downs, and I felt confident on the descending. I actually leant forward into it, let gravity take me, didn't strike too much on my heel in the beginning, and trying to get that better form going downhill, and I just got the confidence in the shoe that I needed, which was brilliant. So overall, I was really, really happy with the shoe. So moving on to the juicy bit, my first impressions, how did I find this shoe? Well, as you can see, I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it. First trail shoe in a long time, back in the trail game and loving this shoe. Best choice I could have purchased. I was umming and ahhing about the Speed Goat, looking at the ATR, but I gather that's more of a sort of a hybrid shoe you can run on the roads, trails. Obviously, I needed something relatively decent for the mountain marathon coming up, but if I'm honest with you, I wanted something that was quite runnable as well, because obviously I'm a road runner by trade. Predominantly that's what I enjoy doing, although I'm gravitating a little bit more towards the trails. I wanted something that was going to allow me to feel like I can run the runnable sections of this mountain marathon and then feel confident when I am climbing up the mountain when we get to that point. So this thing gave me all the confidence I needed. A little bit of testing this morning on the descents. On the ascents, feeling good, feeling strong. What I love more so than anything about this shoe is the comfort levels, the comfort of slipping my foot in, the width of the toe box, everything worked for my foot shape. The ProFly midsole was great. And it's funny because obviously it's going to be a different ProFly midsole to what's in the Carbon X like I'm used to for the road racing, but it felt a little bit softer, felt a little bit more cushioned, which I enjoyed. And the simplicity of the shoe. There was no fancy overlays, there was no this, there was no that. let me put my hands up, boys and girls, and say I was umming and ahhing about the Nike Pegasus Trail 2. I then found out how flipping heavy that thing was going to be in my size, and I was just like, no, not a chance. I am really peeved off with the way that some brands are just chucking so much onto these shoes, making them so heavy because that means they're more durable. Do you know what? If I'm honest with you, I'd rather pay the price for a lighter, nimble trail racing shoe that's going to maybe last me 200 miles less. I'd rather cycle through more of those and then get these big, thick, heavy trail shoes. It's just, they're not fun in my opinion. And so for that reason, I was really, really happy that when I slipped my foot into this and I got my run done, that it lived up to every expectation that I had of this shoe. Comfort levels, amazing, 10 out of 10. I've got to say, simplicity of the shoe, no fancy overlays, no extra rubber where it's not needed, no extra anything. It's just absolutely perfect. I think the true test in this thing is going to be obviously the long run test, and then of course the terrain test, seeing where this thing excels. We're going to be scrambling up mountains, going down rocky terrain. That's going to be a real challenge for the shoe. I'm going to do my best to replicate that in and around here where I can soon on a future video, and give you guys a little bit more feedback, because of course this is just my first impressions. We'll get this thing up to a good 50, 60, 70 miles and see how we feel after that. But that's it for today, guys. Those are my thoughts on the Hoka One One Torrent 2. Let me know in the comments below if you run in this shoe, if you enjoy it. If you do, let me know. If you don't, let me know. It'd be great to get the conversation going in and around this thing. This is an absolute gem of a shoe. I'm so happy I've managed to get my hands on it. There we go. If you enjoyed the video today, please make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I'll see you on the next one. Until then.